by giving all praises to the Most High, whose true name in Hebrew is Yahweh, in the name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit in Hebrew, which is the Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, and the Holy Spirit who taught us his truth. Honors to the brothers, making their bodies a living sacrifice to push the gospel. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, which will be 1/3 of the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, who are the children of Israel, who are going to return back to the Heavenly Father. And that would be the hopeful elect, the 1/3 who's going to receive salvation. All right, so we'll be back with another lesson to the power and spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. This lesson is going to be titled, The Cities Are Being Troubled Right Now. But just wait for what's coming next. Again, the cities are being troubled right now, but wait for what's coming next. All right, so I guess we're going to start right here. Second Ezra chapter 16, 15 and 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And for the longest, we spoke about American pride, the KKK, the different gangs in America that will contribute to the cities being troubled, chaos in the cities. But as things unfold, the meaning to these scriptures become clearer and clearer because we could see it literally playing out before us. So now, what else you can add to the mix? The migrants that's coming over here. And right now, the people from Venezuela, they getting a lot of attention. And then I did a video some months back going into the squatters. You know, people leave home. There's somebody living illegally in abandoned buildings, apartments, homes. They even living in people's homes while they still in there. You know, they go on a vacation, they leave the house, come back, somebody using up their water, their electricity, their cable, living in their garage, the backyard, living in the house, and then they got squatters' rights. And then the squatters coming with documentation saying they can't be here. And you can't just get rid of a squatter because they really got rights. So, yeah, the city's being troubled. But now it's taking a step up beyond that. Now you got, according to the media, Venezuelan gangs taking over entire apartment complexes. And from there, you can imagine they probably take over entire city blocks and just even more from there. But again, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So once upon a time, you had the squatters. Now you got the Venezuelan gangs, according to the media, who's taking over complexes. And let's just show the video real quick. So according to the media, they trashing the place, and what they doing, they going to the different residents and making them pay money, sticking them up at gunpoint, making them pay money to continue living there. Or if they don't pay up, they're gonna be robbed, carjackings happening, people being robbed, and that's really nothing new in America. That go on anyway with the cartels, the Bloods, the Crips, the different gangs. They've been extorting people, making different communities and business owners uh, pay a fee to continue about their day-to-day routine unbothered. That's been going on. But again, this is the media, and they putting all the attention on the Venezuelan gangs. So again, because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed. The men shall be afraid. So it went from people squatting illegally, occupying space that don't belong to them. Now they kicking people out their apartments and making them pay a fee to continue living there, taking over complexes. Well, from there, it's gonna go to the houses literally being destroyed, and gang wars, shootouts, things being set on fire, however it may happen. But that's gonna be because of the pride of the people. All right, so now we're going to go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, verse 2. And this is what's being set up right now. I will set Egyptian against the Egyptians. They shall fight, everyone against his brother, everyone against his neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom. So we see that being set up right now. And the Egyptian is the code word for you Americans. Pyramid is on the back of the dollar. And this will be to the American citizens. To anybody that's living in America, that's what's being set up. And for the longest of time, we broke this down, white versus black, white versus Mexican, black versus brown, Democratic versus Republican, straight versus LGBTQT, etc. And all of that is true. But now you can throw these illegal migrants in there. And right now, the Venezuelan gangs, they getting a lot of attention. But you got to remember, it wasn't just Venezuelans that came over here. Don't forget, it was Libyans, Kenyans, Chinese, Russians, Iranians, Iraqis, people from all over the world been coming over here through the border. But you see, the media is on hush mode about these other people. And we're going to get why towards the middle of the lesson. But yeah, America is more divided than it's ever been. You just had the chick Sonia Massey, so-called black chick that just got shot by a white cop. That's stirring up racial tensions once again. You just had a attempt assassination on Trump that got these crackers riled up. Got the left wing versus the right wing, the conservatives versus the liberals. Then you got the LGBTQT versus the straight community. You got different religious groups and etc. going at it. So it's a lot of tension and division right here in America. But again, you can add these Venezuelan gangs and people to the mix, because another thing too that came out is that these South and Central Americans, they getting thousands upon thousands of dollars of food stamps from the government, and thousands of dollars in cash monthly from the government. And that's doing what? That's upsetting the lower and the middle class people. That's upsetting them because their government benefits are diminishing. But you got these South and Central Americans coming over here getting more benefits than everybody in the country. And this video is out there, so-called black women, they upset cussing out the Central and South Americans because how much of food stamps they getting. And it's the same, don't hate the player, hate the game. You can't really be mad at them. That all goes back to Esau the white man. And then, the lower and middle class, it's a lot of people upset because these people getting free housing. They living rent free for 6 to 12 months. It's a bunch of info coming out of all the government assistance they getting they getting away with all kind of crimes and it just all kind of stuff according to the media. But don't forget, people get away with stuff every day in America. But again, the media is putting all the attention on the people from Central South America, and particularly Venezuela. So you got the lower and middle class mad about all the benefits they getting, um, increasing the tension and the division in America, and that's going to lead to the people getting hostile. In which the media said that crime is ramping up amongst the Venezuelan and South American gangs. They taking women. They selling drugs now. Different gangs linking up. They say that that the Central and South Americans are now being given the order to attack law enforcement, which that has been going on. But that's setting the stage for Egyptian against Egyptian. Everybody is being riled up and stirred up simultaneously. So when it finally do go off, it's gonna pop. And again, back to these apartment complexes that's been taken over. They say this happened in Colorado, but they say it's also going on in New York. It's going on in Chicago, and I just got word today that it's happening in Dallas. Different complexes being took over. But another thing that's happening too is you got the street gangs here in America, like those in Chicago, different hoods and ghettos in these bigger cities. Now they want to take a stance against these Venezuelan gangs, saying, okay, we're not going to let y'all take over our cities and our neighborhoods, which I've been seeing a lot of those videos come up too, in which I got one of those videos real quick that we just gonna play. And y'all know the dude, Dabu7, but check this out. Gang members meet in Colorado to deliver message to illegal migrants. Chicago resident drops warning. So you got the different street gangs starting to come together and form an alliance against these illegal immigrants, mainly the South Americans. And one thing to remember is that most of the street gangs here in America are Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians, as well as those who coming up from South America. So Esau is trying to set the stage for the Israelites in North America and the Israelites coming through the border to kill one another. And that's going to happen to a certain extent. But check this out.
This is Dabu7, an update to the situation in Aurora, Colorado. It seems that there's been a lot of misinformation that has been crafted and pushed out there to try to go along with some kind of narrative. But what we've come to find out from people that are on the ground is that indeed there are gangs, there is violence, there are shootings in this area, and there have been for decades from the people that I've talked to. But we now have gang members coming from across the country meeting up at this location, at this exact apartment complex. Even YouTubers going down here and speaking to the locals and asking them, is Trende Aragua in the region? Are they occupying the buildings and this and that? And over again, the answer is no, that they're not. Are there gangs down there? Are there things going down? Yes. But I want to share some clips here because it's set to be spreading to Chicago. And one of the guys from the streets of Chicago has a message and said, you're not going to come here because we don't play that. We play different. And basically, they are putting a shot across the bow out there to anyone that wants to mess around. And I said this before many times. that the gangs are different. They're not like any other group that you think is going to do something. I mean, these guys defend their block on a daily basis, unlike others out there that don't have to do that. So, I told you, it's going to come down to the gangs making a stand against these people, and it's exactly what is happening right now.
Heard what he say? It's gonna come down to the street gangs here in America taking a stand to the gangs of these illegal migrants, Egyptian against Egyptian, because we're law enforcement. That law enforcement is not present because they want Egyptian against Egyptian to take place. This is really all orchestrated um, by the government for the New World Order. But let's continue.
People in the streets from these hoods coming out in mass. There's video of them out there in mass showing that they're very upset about what's going on here. We'll play some clips here.
Came down here to the Lowry Apartments, ran into Big Mod.
For sure, Big Mod 29, y'all
We
know
down-
what it is?
Yeah, we down here for the same reasons. Right
Facts.
here. Dallas and 12th. The Lowry Apartments, we're down here to chase these Venezuelans off.
Oh, we don't know. We ain't from here.
Look, we got another one right here. What's up, bro? Look, we're down here to fucking take our country back.
Ain't no question.
We ready out
I'm rocking
You guys
with
want to
you.
mob down or what? I got a megaphone in the car.
What's your name, bro?
And this is a clip from Chicago.
All right, see, in Colorado, you got different street gangs, which they all appear to be Israelites, ready to take their country back from these so-called South Americans that's coming up, Egyptian against Egyptian. But let's check this next one out.
Y'all gonna regret that. You're gonna really regret that. So, I don't speak Spanish, so somebody need to translate. I hope they got TikTok that translate, I guess. They can kind of make me seem like I'm speaking Spanish. But anyway, take this like a grain of salt if you like. But this ain't Colorado. This ain't Utah. This ain't none of them places. This is just like where you from. The only difference is y'all use a lot of handgun, old revolvers, and machetes and shit. We got switches. If you're not familiar with what a switch is, we will show you. We don't really be with all the telling and shit. But we will definitely show you what a switch is.
Okay, so that's the point there. You
Fresh
got
agave taste.
you got the street gangs in America ready to go at it with these Venezuelan gangs that's coming up from Central South America, setting the stage for Egyptian against Egyptian. Now, it could really be that bad as the media is saying concerning the Venezuelan gangs. But it could not be that bad because this is the media, it's propaganda. They spread lies, fear. Because what they accusing the Venezuelan gangs of doing, that happened every day in America. So it could really not be that bad, but they trying to stir up these race wars. They pretty much want to purge, wanted extermination to take place, but they got to stir it up. All right, so now that we saw that, we gonna go back to the book of Second Ezra, chapter 15. And we gonna get 14 through 16. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. What's that sword? Egyptian against Egyptian. Because remember, it said they shall fight everyone against his brother, against his neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom. So here in America, it's going to be brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, community against community, neighborhood against neighborhood, complex against complex, apartment complex, etc. And how are they going to fight? This is the rest of verse 15. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. What's the modern day sword? The weapons that you saw them taking over this apartment complex with. The sword is the chopper, the assault rifle, switches. And what does a sword do? It penetrates the flesh. And what does these firearms do? It pierces the flesh. But again, one people shall stand up and fight against another. The street gangs here in America want to stand up and fight against these Venezuelan gangs. The KKK want to rise up and fight against so-called blacks and Mexicans. The liberals want to fight against the conservatives. Democrat versus Republican, LGBTQ versus the straight community. Everybody want to fight everybody else. And that's going to happen. But with swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. We see this happening right now. They invading one another. We can't act like this is really happening. Rather, it is as bad as they make it seem or not. It's going to get worse. But keep in mind, it ain't just Venezuelans doing this. The American people are doing this on a whole bigger level. All right? Invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor princes. That's why they've been attacking law enforcement. But guess what? American people do that anyway. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And what's that power? That's that firepower. We see it right now. The course of their action. Their decision making is going to stand in their firepower. That's why anytime it's an uprising, people talk about taking their country back or what they going to do, what's the first thing they mention? The stand your ground laws. They telling you how many guns and bullets they got. That's the first thing they mention. Because of course their action going to stand in that firepower. And as we continue to back to verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. So they taking over apartment complexes and people plotting on one another when they can still go to the store and get food. They doing this with a bank account full of money. So what you gonna do? What you think they gonna do when the food in the stores dry up? What you think they gonna do when they government benefits dry up and they no longer receiving cash or food stamps? The activity that we see on the screen gonna get much worse, not only from them, but from the American people. And it's a lot more American people than it is Venezuelan gang members. But when the food and the money dry up, it ain't gonna be no alliances. These American street gangs, they not gonna be clicking up and banding together. Hey, neither will these Venezuelan gangs. It's gonna be every man for himself. When the lack of bread and great tribulation actually come into effect. And that's why when we come to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 24, it says, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. So the closest of friends, closest of allies, gonna be enemies when the food and the money dry up. You know, through the outages, the cyber attacks, the blackouts, the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, in the 3 hours they shall not run. So the water gonna shut off. Everything gonna be dried up, and it's gonna be much worse. But again, why are they just highlighting the Venezuelan gang members? Because again, you got to remember, we saw the videos of what was happening at the border, who was coming through. We saw a lot more Chinese immigrants coming through the border. So where they at in all of this? Why the media is on hush about them? What they was calling the Chinese nationalist military age men capable of war, in the Indians, in the Pakistanians, in the Kenyans, in the Libyans, where they at? Well, you see, because through Esau's media, he wants you to focus on the people that you see on the screen, the Venezuelan gang members. Meanwhile, you got Chinese nationalists walking up on U.S. military bases. They bypassing the security systems, security cameras. They got guards on active duty, and somehow they trespassing all of that and winding up on U.S. military bases. So yeah, this is gonna break out into something much worse. But besides this, you got something much worse brewing up. Now let's get into a couple articles on that. Because again, we saw more Chinese people at the border than anybody else. They act like we forgot about that. Well, the Watchmen ain't forget. So let's check out this title right here. Because they want you to forget this right here. So Chinese spies and Iranian terrorists posing as DoorDash drivers to get onto U.S. military bases and steal secrets. Foreign nationals have been increasingly caught recording U.S. military bases. They come from China, Iran, Russia, and have posed as DoorDash drivers. Now let's see if we can get anything in here. Chinese nationals tried at least 100 times to enter U.S. military bases and related installations last year. Now this tells you that they tried, but we're going to get another article that show that actually get into these U.S. military bases. All right, let's see. It's not just Chinese nationalists who are infiltrating U.S. military sites. Iran, Russia, and terrorist groups from the Middle East are involved also. Okay, so also, we're going to get this next article real quick. There's just a few things in it. U.S. Navy bases are rejecting foreign nationals 2 to 3 times per week. So this is from May 2024. So from back then and even before and even up till now, 2 to 3 times a week, Chinese nationalists and other terrorist groups are actually entering into U.S. Navy bases. That's why it says they're being ejected, meaning removed, meaning they actually made it inside. The U.S. Navy base security personnel are catching and evicting a steadily increasing number of foreign nationals, particular Chinese citizens. I ain't even read this. I just saw the title and decided it's going to go in the lesson. And they said the same thing, that it was mainly Chinese people, coming through the border, and that it's the Chinese getting on the military bases. Usually the cover story is, I'm a student, I'm an enthusiast, I want to see the ships, that type of thing. So they say they're a student, they're just studying, or they say they're looking for McDonald's. I did a lesson on that before too. Chinese visitors have been arrested for assessing or spying on U.S. naval installations multiple times in recent years. And then we also did the lesson earlier this year that you got China buying up a lot of farmland around military, naval, and Air Force bases. And that's just by coincidence where these Chinese nationals are winding up on military bases where China has brought up the farmland. So the media wants you to focus on this. This bad, it's going to get much worse, not only on the side of the illegal immigrants, but the American people. It's going to turn to street wars. It's going to turn to race wars, to rioting. People going to die about it. Property going to be destroyed. But what's really brewing is what these Chinese are up to. Yeah, these are street gangs with street weapons. But these Chinese, they got military training. They got military secrets. They're going to have military weapons, military grade weapons, bulletproof gear. So the Venezuelan, the street gangs, gonna be bad, but these Chinese nationals gonna be something else. And it ain't just the Chinese. Iranians, so-called Middle Easterns, Libyans, Kenyans, everybody coming up over here. So what the Venezuelan gangs are doing, that's gonna be on the lowest level of what's to come. The real trouble is going to be with these Chinese nationals and everybody else unleashed on the American people. And that's why the scriptures speak about the beginning of sorrows. People saying this is it concerning the Venezuelan gangs. That's just part of the beginning. What's to really come is going to come from the people when they come with the military grade weaponry. And then even when the Chinese nationals and Russians and Iranians, when they let loose in America, that's not even the end of it. Because when we go back to 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, we're going to get verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, because what the city is going to be locked down. And that's going into Luke chapter 21, verse 19. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is not. So after the street gangs from South America, you got the Chinese nationals with military gear, weaponry, and then you're going to have the UN troops, the illegal immigrants that's going to be given a badge. They're going to come lock this place down. And then that's why Ezekiel 21 and 9 say, Son of man, prophesy and say, thus says the Lord, a sword is sharpened and also furbished. The sword is already sharpened. Esau is already upgrading his technology. He already beefed up his military. He already got everything set and ready to go. It is sharpened to make a sore slaughter. It is furbished that it may glitter. Should we then make mirth? Should you be having a good time when you see what's taking place out here? It continueth the rod of my son as every tree, and he hath given it to be furbished that it may be handled. The sword is sharpened and furbished to give it into the hand of the slayer. So yeah, the sword was given to Esau, but Esau is extending his blessing to everybody that's coming over here. Not only to the American people, but to the Venezuelan gang members, to the Chinese nationals that's turning up here and everybody else that came to the border. Verse 14, thus, therefore, Son of Man, prophesy, smite thy hands together, and let the sword be doubled the third time. The sword of the slain, it is the sword of the great men that are slain, which enter into their privy chambers. So the sword is going to be doubled the third time. It's going to be a slaughter unlike America has ever seen. But yeah, don't be too distracted what's taking place with the Venezuelan people. Just know that something much worse is coming. Yeah, the cities are being troubled, but this is just the beginning of troubles. Something much worse is coming. That's going to take the American people by surprise and these Venezuelan gang members by surprise. They're not going to even be ready for what's coming next. All right, till next time, Shalom.